Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll call this committee of the whole meeting on Tuesday, April the 7th, 2026 at 5 p.m. in the council chambers in the village of Westport to order.
Before we begin, we pause in gratitude on the shores of Upper Rideau Lake, where the waters have carried stories for thousands of years. We acknowledge the land beneath our feet and the lakes that cradle Westport are the traditional unceded territory of the Anishinaabe peoples, including the Algonquin Nation, along with the Wendat and Haudenosaunee nations since time immemorial. These waters and woodlands were tended with care by their ancestors who fished, hunted, gathered, and traveled these ancient routes long before the canals, stones were laid, or the first settler cabins arose. We honor their enduring relationship with this place and the wisdom they carry forward. As guests on these lands, we commit to listening, learning, and walking more gently towards truth, reconciliation, and a shared future that respects the original stewards of these beautiful lakes and forests.
Thank you. That will take us to item number 3, which is the adoption of the agenda. It's moved by Councillor Card, seconded by Councillor Crapper, that the agenda for the committee of the whole meeting held on April 7th, 2026 be adopted as presented. Any discussion? All question, all in favor? That's carried. Item number 4 is any declarations of conflict or pecuniary interest on anything on the agenda tonight. Seeing none. We have delegation from Novatech. We've got Arjun and Steve coming online. And this should be a further discussion on our comprehensive zoning bylaw review. Rand is here as well. Okay, we've got the whole team coming in today. I'll turn it over to you, Steve. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to address you tonight with the draft zoning bylaw that we prepared. I think we can be fairly brief here tonight. We didn't prepare any reporting or anything for this meeting, but as you'll recall, we met with you virtually about a month or so ago, where we presented a first, what we call a preliminary draft of the zoning bylaw. And we provided an opportunity for each of council members to ask any questions. And I think with that submission, we also provided a bit of a report to kind of gives an overview of the structure of the bylaw, a few things we wanted to make sure you understood. And so with that, we answered a few questions, and we have gone away since then and addressed some of those comments in the draft. And we've also taken another opportunity to kind of look through it with clean, fresh eyes, to what I like to say, kind of sanitize it, to make sure that it's internally consistent, to make sure that things are done in a way that we feel we're comfortable with. And so what you have before you now is a revised version that has a few red line track changes that are there for your consideration. And we're here tonight to answer any further questions that you have on the draft as presented. And if you'll recall, what our recommendation from last time was that once council or committee is prepared to release this as a first draft to the public, we will produce that final version that can then go to the public at an open house. But we didn't want to go to the public without first having council's endorsement of the draft as it stands today. So subject to any comments and questions you have, we're at that point. And we'll turn it back to you to ask us any questions or if you need clarification on anything. And I have the team here with me tonight we'll collectively try to answer your questions the best we can.
Okay, thank you so much. Councillor Crapper, go ahead.
I have a few, I guess I'll just run through the few that I have with you. They're nothing huge. And I will say at the beginning, since the public are watching, that I really do appreciate the importance of this document, as bulky and long, when people do have access to it, to take the time and work their way through it, because it's a relevance to all of us and to own property and business owners in this town is quite, striking. I appreciate the work involved, and I appreciate that it's worth reading through if I get the time to do it. Just a couple of things. The first one, so I noticed, for example, one of the businesses, so no longer, was in the definitions, I think, a butcher shop was redlined out. It made me wonder, was the list of types of businesses built on what was here previously, or is it based on a standard selection of businesses that typically are found? Just because we lost our butcher shop last year, we could have one again, would we not, would we then wish we still had that definition in the document?
I think I understand your question, and what I would say is that we reviewed the current bylaw. We reviewed other bylaws that we've worked on in the past, and we're familiar with many different bylaws throughout Eastern Ontario, including the city of Ottawa. And what we tried to do is provide a set of uses within all the different zone categories that are typical for that type of zone. And
Right.
we want to try to reduce duplication, redundancy in terminology, and keep it kind of simple and tailored to what would work, what we believe would work for the village. So by removing butcher shop and bakery, we felt that those could very well be included within the retail store definition. So we adjusted that so that we don't have a defined term for every specific use. We didn't feel that we needed to go to that level. So it's not about only zoning for existing uses. It's zoning for what are appropriate uses for the zones. And we think we've covered all the various types of uses. There will be from time to time uses that come along that aren't, caught in all the definitions and uses that we've already contemplated. And we deal with those through zoning bylaw amendments.
Yeah, that's great. That's what I was.
To try to get that suite of uses defined in the bylaw and categorized into different zone categories.
I guess actually in the butcher one, I don't want to discuss it more particularly, except that it did specify that you couldn't have an abattoir linked to it, which in some village settings would be an important and unique distinction to not want to have in the village. So just flagging that. I'm sure we wouldn't have an abattoir in the village, and there's got to be some other bylaw that would prohibit that if it was being considered. But
I think he's gonna check the OP.
So we don't define abattoir specifically. So there's an example of where we could put a definition of abattoir in the bylaw. And since it's not listed as a permitted use in any of the zones, it would be clear then to a user that a bylaw is not permitted as of right. They would need an amendment to add that use.
perfect. Another one I wondered about was, it was 3.2.6.9 under yard and water setback encroachments. Hot tubs or swimming pools aren't allowed within 30 meters of waterfront, but hot tubs are. And I found that a little interesting and wondered why the differentiation and why, as I see that there could be risks in having hot tubs right beside a body of water.
So just let me catch up here. I'm going to that section of the bylaw, and we have so it's in section
3.2.6.9 is where it refers, that's the under yard and water setbacks. So I'm looking at my notes, not at the document.
Oh yeah.
3.2.5.2, bullet 2 speaks to hot tubs. But 9 speaks to pools.
Yeah, I think our view there is that swimming pools are of a different scale than hot tubs. Sure, they're both bodies of water that you sit in, but hot tubs are very different than a swimming pool in terms of scale. So that's why we've categorized them a little bit differently in terms of what would be permitted in the water setback. We can take a look at that more closely if you'd like, but I think that's an approach that we found has been successful in other bylaws.
Where there was another community where the comments around, it's the emptying of hot tubs often get emptied every month or whatever. So some, and they were being emptied right into the lake. So there's ways of doing it so that you don't have to do that. But anyway, it was just a curiosity I had on the distinction between those two, because I'm sure the worry about swimming pools is the same, that the emptying of a swimming pool into a body of water would be the concern. Either way, the chemicals into the body of water would be the concern. And finally, I wondered if there's so much new around accessory buildings and coach houses. And in theory, could result in a lot of new building in the community. And I'm wondering about the demand, and this may be more to our CAO than to you guys, but do we have any sense of how that might impact our relationship with Rideau Lakes Township and the provision of oversight of building services? And I mean, it's great. I like it, but is it, have we factored into our thinking the number of new potential builds, because they all have to comply with building code, they'd all have to be inspected, etc. Is that a concern to anybody or no?
Because I think if we reach capacity, you know, if they reach capacity, they would hire somebody new and, so I think as long as we're contracting with them, things exploded during COVID for them and they
Yeah.
certainly had to increase their staff. I don't think there's gonna be I'm not trying to prejudge, but I don't get the sense there's gonna be a lot of uptake in the next 10 years for those. I haven't met anybody who really, I haven't met a single person who was inquiring and wanting to put one in, unless you guys have accessory units, like a granny suite. Many, just because it's on the point of capacity for the
Right.
building office,
No,
okay.
but in theory, I mean, it's a great opportunity, and what it does is say that suddenly, right now, we're limited in the number of potential builds, period. But suddenly, I mean, I was quite struck by how easily, let's say, a property owner will be able to utilize their existing property to build a new building.
By right, yeah.
By right.
By right, yeah.
Yeah, which is striking. So if there was uptake, and then we would renegotiate with the provider, but it's
That might be then a further argument for us to bring it in-house.
well, that's
Right,
one of
yeah,
the things I was wondering
yeah.
about, whether or not, if the capacity in which, of Rideau Lakes to continue providing it, if we grew a lot, would be a strain or not.
Well, I think staff have already looked at that. Did you want to comment? And you put it on hold, it comes off hold, it goes back on hold, a costing thing.
Sorry, so the review to
Bringing building in here.
so that's gonna come next week at the budget meeting, that's where we're gonna discuss that, but it's been finished, it's been completed.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll bring it.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, great. That's all I have.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank
Yeah.
you so much. Anybody else have comments on the draft? We can let it go. Councillor Kern.
I've had some communication with Councillor Argona just because we both had the same thought at the same time. And the issue of containers, or whatever you want to call them, that's a new industry. I mean, it's an up and coming thing. Kind of, I guess it refers to in the context of a pop-up. So if somebody wants to have a business in the summer for Westport, and there is some vacant property here, and being able to set a customized container, self-contained, business where it's lockable, you shut the doors at night, you open the doors in the morning, just like any other business. But there are some new conceptions of how that works. I mean, I don't believe in letting people set containers anywhere, but these aren't just containers, they're custom fabricated, purpose built. And you're starting to see them in a lot of places. I don't think that they should ever be allowed to be a permanent thing. I don't think that they should sit there for nothing, but I think there are ways that we could accommodate that as far as by license or by, and there'd have to be a standard they'd have to meet for that, like a professional build instead of Barry building one in his backyard and dragging it downtown, because some of these are pretty good looking units. And there are spaces like the market. I mean, something like that would serve as a key point, like an office or, you know, a headquarters or whatever you want it to be. I'm just wondering if there's any way that, that could be accommodated for that specific type of refurbished container, as opposed to just saying we have lot containers, period. Because it's a business opportunity that a lot of people, including some of the businesses in town, might want to take up on.
Is there an opportunity to, on a case by case to, for council to allow an exemption, Steve?
We thought a little, actually wouldn't say long and hard, but we did think about whether or not we should even go into this area with shipping containers, because currently the bylaw that you have in the Westport that doesn't deal with shipping containers at all. So it's very silent on it. And other municipalities are also silent on shipping containers, but I appreciate that they are becoming a more common interest for people because they're, I don't know if they're much cheaper or not, but they are efficient in terms of no construction costs in terms of building. So there's some advantage of that, and they can be made to look, you know, fairly aesthetically pleasing and not just rusty old containers. So we're not. We thought we would bring up an approach that would allow them in certain areas, but we didn't know or didn't feel that they are appropriate for the downtown and the village core. Just as of right. And so it was hard to write regulations that would allow them conditional on certain things. So we chose to take the approach that they wouldn't be permitted, and that if somebody brought forward an application that proposed the use of shipping containers, and that could be accommodated through a zoning bylaw amendment, rather than allowing them as of right. So that would involve a process. But it would give you the opportunity to review it for, and it would also then potentially would come along with site plan approval. So you'd have the ability to control what they look like and how they are configured on the property, and all those sort of other considerations in site plan approvals. So that's the approach we've taken. We debated whether or not we should even venture into that area, but I thought that they are sort of a theme these days in some municipalities that we thought we should include them for your consideration. Happy to discuss it further, but that was our approach and the thinking behind our intent.
Councilor Carr?
I understand what you're saying. I think that people need to realize that it's not like it used to be with containers. And I'd say for storage, no, I don't believe in that at all. It's whacking a container down somewhere for storage. It'd have to be business that served a purpose in the village, served a need maybe. You'd have to meet all the requirements. There are all kinds of requirements, site planning, all that kind of stuff. So I just thought it's instead of starting off with amendments to our new zoning plan, my thought was we should try to accommodate. We should look a little bit ahead and see what's coming down the pipe instead of just planning on fixing it.
You have the same mind?
Changes.
Yeah, I am in the same mind, and I had traded emails with through the CAO with Steve on this issue, and I think there's a way to probably address this through the pop-up retail section, if I'm not mistaken. Steve, was that what your thinking was when I first broached the question?
Well, our thinking simply is that a shipping container usage in the downtown core would require an amendment. And so we haven't provided any provisions to allow them under certain circumstances in the downtown core, or anything to do with how they're used. It's just simply an outright ban, not ban, but a prohibition, I guess. But if somebody brought forward an application or an interest to use one, we would consider on a site-by-site basis or a case-by-case basis.
So your advice is leave it the way it is and allow council to take the decision on a case by case?
That's the way it is now. That's the way we would suggest. Now we could proceed through the public consultation, and I suspect there may be lots of interest in this, and And perhaps the comments we received through that process would lead to further discussion, and on the basis of that and with input from council, we can revise it at that time rather than changing the course at this stage.
You're not opposed to them being in the municipality, but your recommendation is that they should not be downtown. Have I got that right, Steve?
Correct.
Okay, just hold there, just let me check with. And what is your feeling on that? I mean, I know the decision of whether it's an amendment is gonna get put in, but does that sit with you as well? Cause we don't wanna judge what they look like, right? Like, who's the decider? We don't allow trailers downtown yet, right? Home trailer, house trailers. They're still probably excluded.
Yeah, my original thinking was that, along the same lines as Councillor Card, was that, for pop-up retail, some type of seasonal market, there might be an opportunity to allow that kind of structure to be put up. Whether we address it as a special provision within the retail market area, there's a place.
Process is fine, let's just talk about
Okay.
the theory first of all, and then we can ask them to figure out the process for you.
Okay, so, yeah, my thought was that if we could figure out a way to allow that type of structure to happen, or some type of.
Anywhere in the village.
Village core specifically is what I'm looking at.
So you're the opposite to the planner, you're saying it should be in the core.
Correct.
Okay.
I
And just
agree.
stay on that point for a minute, and then we'll go process.
I agree. I think if you're going to allow it, and I think it should go out to the public too, and get their opinion. I mean.
It will, I just wanna know if you're in agreement with the planner and Aaron or
No,
Councilor going.
I think I'm in agreement with Councillor going with it.
Okay,
I see it as a business opportunity, for the village. I see it as an income generator for the village. I mean, license them, do whatever you have to do.
okay, we'll get process. Any objections from you two, what they're saying?
I'm agreeing with the planners right now, though, in the fact that we have a little more control with an amendment. Like, how long would it take for an amendment to come through? I'm thinking of the Tangle Garden, which is further down the, every year they come through with a renewal for their patio. I'm wondering where these came,
That's
like,
the question to ask though.
where are these storage units going to go downtown? Like, I'm thinking maybe there's one empty.
Okay, but right now, we're gonna ask the planners to write it up for us, but we gotta give them some direction. So 3 of the 4 say downtown's fine. You're not with them there.
I'm fine with
Okay.
it being any, I'm just saying I do agree with his rationale, with
Okay.
the planner's rationale.
All right, so a couple of questions that came out of that, Steve. You heard that they have no objection to them being downtown as long as there's some criteria. Councillor Cardy's question is how long would this take to put into the document that you're working on? And Councillor Card's comment was, let's not put an amendment to something we're just gonna pass. Can we get it in it now? So is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you off the top of my head how we would incorporate that into the bylaw, but what I'm hearing is that there's a desire to allow them in the downtown as of
Yeah.
right. And in order to do so, we should review the provisions of the bylaw to see how we can make that work.
Okay,
And I think we can come up with something that suits. This is an example of something that you have a lot of ability to deal with at the local level, to have a made in Westport kind of approach. And so you hear me talking a lot about provincial policy dictating certain things. Well, this is an example of where if you like
silently.
do something that's of a local nature, you have that flexibility. So we'll propose something for your review and consideration so that you can have them in the downtown.
Okay, so we'll see what comes back. Just heard the conversation. Yep.
So
Okay, good.
if I just may on that topic though, and maybe this is something we should discuss before we're done this evening. The next step is to set an open house date, because we want to keep moving with the process. So the question becomes now, if we're going to make revisions, to come back to council for your quote unquote blessing before we go to the public with it, we have to consider that as time in the schedule.
Yeah, I'm hearing from the people who've spoken to this, that time is a kind of the essence and they like it, whatever we're gonna put in place. to be included in the amended bylaw that we're working on, not an amendment to it down the road.
So then, after this meeting, we'll make some changes and come back with respect to those
Yes.
provisions in a
Yes.
couple weeks or so? Is that what it?
Yeah.
Okay,
There may be other changes that we talk about now. If it's only this one, then it's gonna be a pretty quick meeting.
yeah, okay.
We'll work around your schedule, but I'm hearing, let's try and get that point right.
George,
Yes.
is it possible to come back with two options? I didn't know what it is.
So the option that we've asked, so a couple of things, if I heard you right, Steve, the PPS doesn't really cover this, so we have a lot of flexibility. So he's gonna bring back a proposal that will allow it, and you can tinker with that proposal. What would the option A and option B be in your mind?
Well, not being a planner myself, I'm just
What
wondering
would the
whether
two options
there's
be?
anything that would just, he'd have to come back and say, no, you can't do that. That'd be option one, it's not workable, and an option two would be, it's workable under these conditions.
I think you're gonna get option two. I think that's what we've asked for. Cause he said it's doable. It's really whether we decide that we wanna go that way or not. Did that cloud it for you at all, our little sidebar here, Steve, or you're okay?
That makes sense. I hear what the interest is, and we'll have something back to the village shortly.
Okay, yeah, that's great. We know that we wanna get this done, but, we wanna get it done right. So that is on pop-ups. Anything else?
Pop-ups? No.
Yeah, but just changing strands, go ahead.
Yeah. Through you, Madam Mayor. Steve, I was wondering if we could clarify section 7.1. Last time we met about the zoning bylaw, we talked about the provision for maintaining retail on ground floor level in the village core. And I see that you made a change to the document you redlined out. One of the bullet points under residential uses. Does that cover it, or do we need to be more specific in how that particular change is applied?
RJ, not to put you on the spot, do you want to talk to that change?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So, Counselor, I think, and I hope this answers the question, let me know if it doesn't, but what we've done is we basically have removed we've removed a former residential use being converted back to a residential use from a non-residential use. So you've got a house, someone turns it into a business, and they turn it fully back into a house. We've removed that from the list of permitted uses, and we removed that because what that essentially requires then is that, let's say you've got a house, you turn that into a non-residential use, and now you want to turn it back into a residential use. Well, if this is not listed as a permitted use, then the permitted residential that you'd be able to provide is a dwelling unit or unit in the upper stories of a non-residential building. So that kind of tackles that concern. Basically, they can't convert it back to a solidly residential building. It's got to have some level of retail component to it.
Makes sense. You good with that?
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you. I think that's all our questions. Is there anything else that you wanted to bring up? Miranda, anything you wanted to say?
I'm okay this time.
Hey.
Steve?
Steve, we're fine if you are, and we'll look for that one piece that we've talked about. We can certainly fit it into a council meeting if that works with you. And
Okay.
then keep it moving.
Yeah, so we'll take a look at that, and maybe it's even just going to be one section that we have to adjust, and then we'll provide the pages for that just to keep things simple and moving forward that way. As we do it, we may think about having to tinker with other sections to make it all work, because one change could inadvertently affect other sections, right? So
Understood.
we'll
Yeah,
get back to you very quickly with a revision, and we'll schedule a meeting through Kim.
okay. Thank you so much, team. We really enjoy your briefings, and thank you for all being here on a winter night. Oh, I mean spring night. Like in Ottawa, did you get as much snow in Ottawa as we got here?
We had a dusting this overnight, I think, and a little bit
Oh,
but I think it's been fairly mild this afternoon. So
oh, good. All right. Well, I'm smiling. I'm happy for you.
hopefully winter's passed.
Thanks, team.
Good night. Thank you.
Yeah, bye now. Okay, that was good. It's like the public watching know that when we talk to people about running for council, they get a good sense from you that there's more than just showing up at a meeting. It's to read and to be able to carry on a discussion with the planners. So that takes us to item number 6.1, which are the Historical Advisory Committee meeting minutes. And it's moved by Councillor Crapper, seconded by Councillor Card. That committee of the whole receives the Historical Advisory Committee meeting minutes from their meetings held on June 18th, July 23rd, and October 14th, 2025 for information purposes. Anything you wanted to add, Councillor Card?
Sure, just quickly, two new things. We are looking to get some new signage so that it says Westport Museum over there instead of Rideau Lakes as well. And also that it's gonna be the 60th anniversary of the museum this year. Yeah, so, yeah,
So
so,
having a party?
yes,
Yay.
absolutely.
Okay, very
That's
good.
it.
Very good. We'll make sure we know the date in lots of time.
Absolutely.
All right, and I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Great. 7.1 is that Councilor Carter has already kind of referred to the Tangle Garden Lost Penny 2026 patio extension request. The motion is moved by Councilor Card, seconded by Councilor Crapper, that the committee of the whole receives a report entitled Administration Tangle Garden Lost Penny 2026 patio extension request, and that the committee of the whole recommends that council approve the request received from the owners of the Tangle Garden Lost Penny to extend the liquor license to the patios for the 2026 season. And just because we have the briefing note and the public doesn't, the owners of the Tangle Garden Lost Penny are looking for the same provision that they had in 25 and 24. That's correct?
That's correct.
Just for the public to know. Any concerns? Councilor Crappen?
Only if there are concerns that have been expressed or get expressed between now and council, otherwise, because that was our whole focus initially, was that there were worries about parking, et cetera. So if there are some, we'll hear about them. Otherwise, I'm good with it.
Okay, good. Good, so two spots right out in front, and then I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Item 7.2 are the special events policy key elements. So we'll get the motion moved by Councilor Crapper, seconded by Councilor Card, that the committee of the whole receives the report entitled Administration Special Events Policy Key Elements, and that the committee of the whole recommends that council approve the list of key elements as presented amended at the April 7th committee of the whole for public consultation. Okay, so I gotta go to my right page here, so I can look at them while we talk, page 19. And so just to remind everybody and for the public, members of council made after our last meeting, where I think we were really strong on the point that we didn't have a bylaw. We were a long way from getting a bylaw. We had 2 or 3 meetings open to the public where we had really wrestled with how do we move forward? What's the right way to do it? Unfortunately, people jumped on that was a matter of fact, and maybe they missed the part of my preamble to it that we're a long way from a bylaw. So I'm going to start again tonight for anybody watching. We are still a long way from a bylaw, but we know in 2026 we need to continue this work so that we feel that we're managing. We're providing opportunities for these large events in the village, while at the same time fulfilling our fiduciary responsibility as governors for the municipality. So the suggestion at the last meeting, which we all followed up on, was to think of the groups that you're involved with and what would be the types of categories or headings of things that they should be consulted with. And so the list, I'm just going to read them for purposes of people who might be watching this part of our video. There were 5 general categories that were sent to the CAO in our submissions, and she's broken them into insurance for number 1. Category number 2 is public safety, traffic, parking, accessibility plans. Item number 3 are types of events, and I know that she wrestled with that. And that means, is it a big event, a small event, one venue, several venues? So she landed on types, but that's what that means. And therefore, you need to look at it separately and differently for different types of events. Number 4 is approach and application process, and that means that's like the village with a happy face. That's how can the village help? How can we help you with what the planners of events, what they need to take into consideration, how to fill out the form. If it's something that happens and it is another organization responsible, so if something on a county road, who to contact at the county. So number 4 is the process of getting things through and how the village town hall can help. And that's part of number 5 as well, village support and guidance. So they're kind of squeezed together at the end. Did you have any other thoughts, Councillor Crapper?
Just as I look at it, I know I didn't include this in my email, but exemptions are often outlined in other processes.
Good point.
So I'm thinking,
Yeah.
not so much for, I don't know, what it was an example, like, if you're doing it for, religious reasons or for some, maybe Orange Shirt Day or something that is not, of scope that is not a village event, but something, I don't know.
Maybe Orange Shirt Day.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. We'll turn our mind to it. Are there exemptions? Good. All right. So we agree on this. This is good. This is the fastest we've moved this through in months. Now, the next piece, did you want some direction? Okay, so we've agreed on the 6 categories. What's the next step? So we can invite people into town hall. First of all, I've asked the CAO to do it face-to-face. So everybody agree with that? And if people don't want to come in, that's their prerogative, but our invitation is for a face-to-face meeting. And we'll get to with someone in a moment. It'd be the CAO and somebody probably. I know we had a suggestion, but I don't know if they followed up with the suggestion yet. And so then the process is to sit down with individual groups, not as a large body, but in individual groups. I'm gonna say the Arts Council, although we've retired, I'm gonna use them as an example. That the chair and somebody from the Arts Council comes in and sits down with the CAO and another staff member, and they kind of go through this. What would first of all, how do these criteria impact them? Might be not at all. Or are there areas where they need to have some discussion so that the policy can reflect what would work for them? Just because you have your say, doesn't mean you get your way, but this is their opportunity. I think we want open-ended questions so that we can hear what their concerns might be. This is not about us other than insurance. Other than insurance, you've all agreed that's a non-starter. Other than insurance, it's not our opportunity to tell them what we want. This is a listening exercise by staff. Everybody agree with me so far there? Okay, so we've got the areas. We can perhaps identify some of the groups, and we can figure that out in a moment. And know that staff's gonna sit down and hear what they have to say on whether these things are good for them, limitations, and if there's limitations, what would be something that they could work with. All right, how do we identify the groups?
I think that's not a huge task. I mean, most people in this room could sit down and give you a list.
So we can give a list and a contact person to the CAO?
I believe so.
Okay.
And like I said initially, it should be a written invitation. It should be something formal because we're formulating a formal document here. And I wouldn't want anybody to get left out or back and say, well, you didn't invite me. So communication is going to be a big thing here. And then the general public should have a say too, like, if somebody's gonna be beating a drum right next to my house, I should have something to say about it. So that invitation should be extended too, and how you do that, I'm not sure, certainly on our through our media sites. And maybe these groups that we're gonna contact could also promote that they'd like to see the public through their media groups. We're gonna attend a session with the village about the events policy, and perhaps you'd care to attend too, or set up your own meeting with staff or give your own comments. I think there's a way to do it. We just have to think it out,
So we could have, 2 things there. Written email to the individual person setting up a meeting. Everybody agree with that? With an invitation to meet with what we've already said. And so that would be group by group, open to the public. anybody requesting an opportunity to come in and speak, I don't want gangs to come in,
That could
like,
be a drop-in thing.
yeah, would come in and meet. We could possibly have a survey on the website so that if people don't have time or they work, they're not available when staff are, they could also raise their issues. So we've got individual groups, we've got the general public. Councillor Crawford.
On the general public, I wonder why, I mean, it could be a great opportunity for us to just have it, like, so we've met with each of these groups. And I believe at the end of that session, we will have drafted something reflective of what all of these community volunteers and groups would like to see in this policy.
So this is now after we've
I
got a
guess.
document.
So that we got that document, why not consider a public
Oh,
meeting where
fine.
people can come in, hear that.
Yeah.
The stakeholders, by and large, are all of one mind. But then maybe we hear that, you know, there are worries from others that we have, and then, I don't know, it seems like the most transparent way to go.
So I just have one concern with that. If I'm the person who has negative thoughts, I get something, which is where we were like 3 months ago, already prepared. So let's do that as well as what Councillor Card suggested. We'll invite them in while it's being prepared, part of the listening tour, to hear what people have got to say. We'll put together a document. We'll have a public meeting.
Very good.
Is that good?
Yep.
Does that work for you too?
Yes, just a timeline. What is council's expected timeline?
Well, let's back it up because it's coming to the end of our term. So, you know, it may be after August that we're lame duck. So I would love to, so back it up, if to get it through council in July. This is how we do things this time of year. Council in July, could it come? Committee of the whole in June? Could you have time between now and the 1st of June to meet with these groups, prepare a document? Then we could have the public meeting in June and pass it June or July?
If council, if that's council's will, yeah.
Well, I mean, they're not as aware of the strategic decisions you have to make between now and then to get the election stuff stood up and everything.
Mhm.
But I think if we don't do it now, then you're gonna have some new people on council next year and you're gonna start back at square one.
Yeah.
Okay.
June?
Councillor Cardy.
Can I just have some clarification? So let's say my neighbor is just volunteers, not necessarily with any specific group, but has some opinions, positive or negative. Can they do a survey or do they have to come in face to face with you?
They can do both.
So there will be some sort of
There'll be a
survey.
survey,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I agree, not everybody
Right.
is wanting to come in.
No,
No.
no.
And
And
it
some
doesn't-
people work, they can't get in between 9 to 5.
Yeah, and I don't think it's all negative either. It's just
Yeah.
suggestions,
Yeah.
right? Things that we maybe aren't thinking
Yeah.
of. So, great, that's all.
Okay, so I think we've covered everybody off. Let's just say along one more time, we are a long way from a bylaw, but it would be nice by the time we have an election in October. That this group who's dealt with all of the ins and outs has something that public has had input on. And staff have had input on, we've had the opportunity to check with legal before it gets passed, we've had the opportunity to check with our insurance people. Okay. So there's probably a motion to that effect here, just give me 2 quick shapes. Yep, I've already read it. Want me to read it again or we're okay? Okay, call the question.
Did you want me to add exemptions to the list of the key elements?
Please.
Yes, okay, then it would be as amended. not
All right.
amended.
Approve the list as amended. It's okay with the mover and seconder? All right, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Well done, team. All right, this is now exciting stuff, particularly for people like Councillor Card and I. 7.3 is Public Works Community Emergency Response Volunteer Program. And so it's moved by Councillor Card, seconded by Councillor Crapper. The Committee of the Whole received the report entitled Public Works Community Emergency Response Volunteer Program for information purposes, and that the Committee of the Whole recommends Council approve the terms of reference and pass a bylaw establishing and regulating a community emergency response volunteer program. Mr. Monahan, did you want to say anything about it? We've read your report.
I think it'll be a huge benefit to the municipality. I think through our years of emergency management here that we've found the void that additional manpower or from power could be a huge benefit to our municipality, as if we're in an emergency situation, we don't have a ton of resources here, so having that extra help could help with helping run an emergency smoothly, so.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think and looking at it as an addition to the existing, committee for emergency management, and the thing that comes to mind right off the bat is, record keeping and that kind of thing, when you're dealing with a whole bunch of things, in an emergency. The details often don't get recorded, but later on they might be very important, so, having that service provided by some volunteers, and, I mean, if you had a mass casualty situation, having extra trained people on site is a big advantage right off the bat.
Good, Councilor Craft.
Would we, I think of recent events like the boil water advisory as an example, would we be able to utilize this process to help communicate with people if we felt it was helpful and needed?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think and the fact that it's funded,
Mhm.
like, it's unbelievably great.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
this is a resource that we have been told this year and probably every year that we would do better if we had a better way of reaching out to people and supporting our staff when there's a need to do that. You
Yeah.
know, I'm excited by it.
Councilor Wong.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo Councilor Card and Councilor Crapper's comments. I was actually very interested in this particular report, and I thought that
First volunteer.
I'm gonna volunteer some people.
Okay.
And the thought that came to mind is we have a lot of new people in the village that I've talked to that are looking for ways to participate in the community, and I think this would be of interest to a lot of people that
Yeah.
have moved in recently, so I was very pleased to see this come across my desk. And I have to say, it was one of the few reports that I actually enjoyed reading.
Very good. We're all kind of giggling. Don't ask. Don't ask. Okay.
Just a follow-up from Counselor Aragona. So new people, old people in the village want to help and volunteer. Can we walk them through that process, or we're not there yet? Just wondering, if we could answer any of those questions for them.
Me now?
Yeah, like right now, once this.
So why don't we get you to come to the podium, Mr. Monahan, and give us the Reader's Digest version, I
Yeah,
guess.
for
So
the
people,
public.
now that we've got them excited, they're wondering, what the heck are they talking about?
So through your worship, so are you looking more towards like, what's the next step?
Yeah, that's right,
Okay,
yes.
so we're gonna.
What is it, first of all?
So
Should we
how
just
does
give it
that
a
help?
title?
Okay, so we're gonna look at, hopefully once, if this does pass, gonna be putting out an application out to the public. And then we're thinking about having it out for a month, so we'll have it out on social media, in the newspaper, and have it posted around our municipal buildings as well. So we're gonna look at, there'll probably be interviews, so.
And the type of people who would apply are interested in what sort of jobs that you're offering?
So,
Roles, what are they gonna do?
so they could be doing scribe work, helping out at evacuation centers or reception centers, traffic control, kind of scribe, I don't know if I mentioned.
Knocking on doors, sharing information, that's part of what constitutes.
And the
Councilor
wellness checks were
Yeah.
exciting to me, to be
Yeah.
able to just, when we know there's vulnerable people at a vulnerable time, to be able to go see how they're doing.
Exactly, so.
Can you expand on the training portion of it, like how in depth are you gonna go? Initially, I see this as probably happening in stages, but
Exactly, so initially, so we're gonna talk to and see, like, with our group that we're gonna get, are they eager, or are they looking for something monthly, quarterly, bi-monthly? So I think once we get a group established, we can talk of frequency, but I think at least bi-monthly to quarterly, because we do have to keep everyone in the loop. So we're gonna be looking at rolling into a Who's Responding app. So it's the same thing we use on the fire side. So they've done a lot of updates recently, so you can incorporate our training into it. So then you can have your training calendar basically on it. And then you can see who's available, like say on next Thursday, you can see availability for that amount of people. and for response as well. So if we have an instance, say, we have a boil water advisory, we need to put the word out to see who's available to do wellness checks or advise them, then we can just hit on the app and then everyone can hit, oh, I'm available, so I'll come.
So looking at your pool of potential volunteers, I mean, if you start it with 5 people, I guess. Make my question more direct. Would your intent be to initially work on the scribe end of it? Would you get into first aid training for them? And how is that going to impact who you select? Because there's all kinds of talent, in the village here. And, you may get somebody that, is 70 years old that doesn't want to get down on their knees and do CPR, but there might be the best scribe or the best door knocker that you've ever come across. So I think how it's weighted is going to be a particular interest. There might be a lot of people apply that, you may not accept in the first round, but you might see them in important addition to the second or third round. So I just wondered if you had already decided how you're gonna line that up. Are you going
I think-
physically first or mentally, or how's it gonna?
I don't think you can have like limitations in that respect, because I do agree, because everyone brings something to the team. So I think once the application goes out there and we conduct interviews, we can kind of go from there. But I think initially, the first year is gonna be mostly orientation on how we conduct emergency management with our municipality, like setting up our emergency operations center. And doing first aid and CPR training will be first.
And scribe,
And scribe.
scribe, to their point, yeah. Okay, Councillor Lona.
So, just for anybody that hasn't read the briefing, then just to follow up on all that, we're looking for how many volunteers if eventually?
5 to 10 would be ideal, but I think a maximum of 15 volunteers.
And you know, the biggest challenge you've already nailed, and I think it was through Councillor Card's question, keep them interested.
Mhm.
And, you know, if they come for training for a couple of days and on setting up the EOC, and we don't set up the EOC for a year. You know, so I liked what you said, that you're gonna have some other training involved in there, or some mocks or something, so that they stay engaged. That's just,
And I think I'll add to, through your worship, hopefully these people are getting deployed all the time. Like, I know, like, I'm a volunteer firefighter and we do get calls every month, where I'm hoping that's not the case for
Yeah.
this. So this is a less frequent, so I just want to put that out there for the general public, like, oh, this is gonna keep me busy. It's not gonna be a ton of calls, but I think it'll be probably more training than actual calls.
good, Councillor Crawford.
And might we not, let's say they wanted to be more busy, and thank everybody that we don't have a lot of catastrophes requiring them, but there might be a pool of people that we can utilize for some other things. As volunteers, like, it'll be neat to have people that get to know and are part of a broader village team, but it might be possibly that outside of what's described for what their mandate is and what we're being funded for. Well, there could be an event that needs people, volunteers to set up blockades or do whatever it could be a door to volunteerism in the community as well.
Exactly,
Good.
yeah.
Thank you. Very good. Okay, so as Councillor Crawford said, it's an important gap that's being filled and it's being funded. I'll call the question, all in favor. Carried, thank you, Mr. Monahan, appreciate it. Okay, 8.1 is notice of motion from Councillor Crawford. Do you have the copy in front of you? Okay, do you want to read it?
Want me to just read through it first? Okay. And as I spoke to, I won't go into the detail about the sections, I'm just gonna.
What I would be reading is the whereas down
Yeah.
to the meeting, and it's moved by Councillor Crawford, seconded by Councillor Card.
Whereas the Village of Westport's official plan references trees and environmental provisions under sections 4.1.1, 1.5.2, 1.5.3, 4.1.1 and 4.2.1.6. And also, whereas the village's corporate strategic plan includes a pillar called maintaining small town feel and protecting the environment. Which includes an action item to increase the tree plant canopy by establishing a tree planting and tree preservation plan. Now therefore be resolved that Committee of the Whole recommends that council directs to staff to develop a Village of Westport tree policy limited to public lands, including parks, streets, roadsides, municipal property, and village-owned natural areas, focused on protecting mature trees, planting native species, expanding the tree canopy, and supporting shoreline naturalization where applicable. Be brought back to the June 2nd, 2026 Committee of the Whole meeting.
Okay, and would you like to speak to it as a mover?
Yeah, I mean, it's been glaring to me that on our strategic plan has been this item, this action item, since we sat down to revise our strategic plan beginning of this term. And that as our official plan was renewed, there are multiple lengthy, detailed focus points on urban forests. And urban forests are essential but declining. And if you don't have a plan to protect an urban forest, then you lose it because it's simply not top priority. There's not huge costs involved. There are costs involved. I've looked into what they look like in different municipalities and they vary widely, but they exist widely. Sometimes they aren't restricted to public lands, so I believe that if we focus on public lands and model replacement of trees that are cut down, and not just replacement trees, but appropriate trees, native species serve a purpose that others do not in our changing environment, then it'll be a vehicle for education for others, so that if there's a property owner who's cutting down trees, they will have heard through this discussion and subsequent discussions that, you know, trees are important, and it's not okay just to cut them all down. You need to do it with a plan and a purpose and information. So that's why I brought this motion forward during this term. I think it fits. It has obviously been a priority for us in that it is in our strategic plan and it is in multiple parts of our official plan, yet there is no plan for it specifically in place.
Okay, any comments? Councilor?
Yeah, I see lots of opportunity. I think of, and I'm not putting this on Blooms, we're in early stages, but they do their planter boxes and every 3 years, I think you have to donate $350. I just see this as something that maybe we could really look into, and maybe families donate a tree in honor of somebody or a church or a, you know, a group that it maybe that will cut down on some costs too, with some, you know, involvement obviously on the village side, what they would look like and where they would go.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity for the village too, in that, if somebody has to cut down a tree on their property, it's disease or whatever, that the village might participate by donating a sapling or whatever to replace it. I think there's some potential there for a good neighbor policy, and I think it's a good idea as long as we don't tell people what they can do with their own property. I mean, we're still a rural community, so.
Yeah. Well, remember I'm gonna support this, but remember the Liberals had this in place. And the PCs were elected in 14, and the first thing they repealed was the tree canopy legislation. And that was the main reason, is that municipalities can take care of their own, but you can't compel private. Okay, so just want to check with the CAO, is June Committee of the Whole doable?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you,
Okay.
through you, Madam Mayor. If you have any good templates that you think are,
Sure.
well, let me know and we can work with what you've already taken a look at.
Great.
Good,
We'll do it.
okay, I'll call the question then, all in favor, carry, well done, Mr. Crapper, well done. 8.1. Not any announcements? Amy? Councilor Girl?
Yes,
Yes.
very exciting hockey game this
Yes.
Friday at 8 at the arena.
Yes.
Game 6, they were supposed to get swept, and Westport
Yeah.
is proving to hold their own, so it's very
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and the puck drops at 8
That's correct.
Friday night, be there, be square, or tune in. How many people were on the,
300.
yeah, watching online? So if you can't get there, and you're still interested, you know, the Ritos YouTube channel is great commentary.
Yeah, and should say kudos to Tim and Phil who take this project on
Yeah.
now, and
Yeah,
you'd think you're
The
a
announcers.
professional announcer there. It's
Yeah.
just, it's just great. I haven't been able to go to the last 3 games. I watched them at home and it's pretty near as good as being there.
I found myself blabbering to the priest that came to our church this Sunday. He lives in Brockville, but Mr. Chisholmore was leaving the church and we talked hockey, and then I bored, I'm sure, the priest for the next 5 minutes on our junior hockey team and how amazing they are. But we're proud of them. We're proud of them. And we're proud of our coach, for sure. He's done some amazing things in 3 years. Any other announcements?
I might say that people keep an eye out in the next week or so for announcements about FODA's annual Bob Scott Walk. We're starting the plan for that a little bit early this year. We also intend to continue with our 50-50 draw. It's been very successful over the last 2 years and has benefited some local people. So we'll be pushing that again this year, and that all goes towards the community center. So
Good.
just keep your eye out for that.
Right, so those are the things that we work on our own time. Anything that you wanted to share on your own time?
I think it's worth letting people know there's been one meeting of a group of people who believe that West Porch Fest will happen this year, and there's a lot of support for it. Just initial conversations, but we've definitely made a lot of headway in a very short time, so there'll be more coming up about that.
Awesome.
Thank you, that's great news. Okay, questions from the public or from the media?
None from the public, one from the media, from Review Mirror, from Susan. If a special events policy is passed by June or July, would it apply to events held after that date? Would there be any consideration given to organizations who might find themselves facing a short time frame to meet requirements for events in late summer or early fall?
Yeah.
That's your question.
So that's a really good question. We've told people nothing's gonna change till 27. I didn't really have the authority of council to say that out loud, but I'm seeing some head nodding. That even if we can get it done before our mandate's over in October, it'll be effective in 27.
Great.
Okay. Sorry, I did speak that at some point, but now I got everybody's head nod, no motion. So that's good?
Yep.
All right. So that's it, team. We did a great open meeting. We've got one item to discuss in closed quickly. So we're going to move by Councillor Card, seconded by Councillor Crapper, that the committee of the whole proceed into the closed session as permitted under the municipal act for personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal employees. And for those watching online, I don't expect we're going to be very long, but then when we come back, we won't have much of a report out because it's a personnel issue. So have your dinner. Okay, so Okay, thank you. We're back in open session. It's moved by Councillor Aragona, seconded by Councillor Cardy. The committee met in closed session to consider personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal employees, and the committee provided instruction to staff. Call that question. All in favor? And moved by Councillor Cardy, seconded by Councillor Aragona, that this meeting of the Committee of the Whole of the Village of Westport be adjourned at 6:08 PM. All in favor? Very good. And now do we come out of this and then go into a new meeting?
Yep.
Okay. And I don't have an agenda for that, so I'll just wing it.
It's on your main agenda, so it's at the bottom.
I'm going to see your plan.
There, I got it now. Yeah, perfect.
There should only be one motion, and that's the bylaw.
Yeah, I got there. There it is. There it is. All right. Oh, so we're at item 15, team, if you're wondering where we're at. So we'll call the special council meeting to order. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. We have one bylaw to consider. And you saw in the briefing package that we needed to get this passed by a hard date, and our next council meeting would not work. So the motion is moved by Councillor Aragona, seconded by Councillor Cardy, that bylaw 2026-10 being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with that bylaw 2026-08 being a bylaw to, can we do this again? Into an agreement with who?
Ministry of Emergency Preparedness and Response for the Emergency Preparedness Grant Program. It just is a.
Okay, I can make this work. I'm winging it again. Bylaw 26-10 being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with the Ministry of Emergency Preparedness and Response for the Emergency Preparedness Grant Program. Be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 7th day of April 2026. We had a great discussion with Mr. Monahan a few moments ago, so I'll just call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very, very much, provincial government. We really appreciate that grant. And for the special meeting of council, we will adjourn. It's moved by Councillor Cardy, seconded by Councillor Aragona at 6:12 PM. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we are adjourned, and council is when?
August 14th, August.
April.
Wow, April 14th.
So a week today is,
Yeah.
a week today is council for everybody.
At 4, right?
Yes.
At
Or
four.
this.
Is it still 4?
Yeah, because we have a budget meeting as well.
Oh, we've got the budget. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, budget meeting, 4 o'clock.
I wouldn't
Next
miss
Tuesday.
that. Where was that? Are we still on?
Yeah, sure.
Great. Hi, everyone.